more for you, you feel it. You know it. This is your life, and it's time to go from contender to champion. This is The Show with John Madsen.
Welcome back to The Show, everybody. I'm your host, John Madsen. This is The Show. Super excited to be here. Hopefully you guys all had an amazing weekend. It was Mother's Day. It was my birthday. I turned 37 this year. And every birthday, I think, is a great time to reflect on what you've done in the past 12 months. And for me, one of my biggest driving factors is simply to make each birthday, each year I turn a different age, 1 year older, to be better. The one thing that makes me happiest is the pursuit of something greater. Now, sometimes that can freak people out because they think that this is a never-ending hamster wheel, and you have to be very, very careful not to just chase this dangling carrot for the rest of your life and never enjoy the present moment. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that when I look back on this last 12 months, I want to ask myself some real questions. And these questions are going to reveal the truth about what actually happened over the past 12 months. And ironically, I recorded a podcast on my birthday last year when I turned 36 years old. When I turned 36 years old, if you want to compare this podcast to a year ago, one, you're going to notice that I'm way better on podcast, I hope, because I've recorded dozens and dozens and dozens of shows. But if you go back to last May, when I recorded my 36th birthday, I recorded an episode, and this year happened so fast because I can remember sitting in my truck, recording an episode on my microphone. And if you guys don't know, I recorded the first 114 shows of this show in my truck with a mic that plugs straight into my phone. You can tell now with this sound quality compared to if you paid attention to the last ones, that's what I was doing. People wanted to know about a podcast studio, what equipment I had. And to be quite honest, I bought a $250 mic. I plugged it into my phone. I recorded it. That's it. But as I recorded my 36th episode, not my 36th episode, but the episode on my 36th birthday, I was pissed at myself. I was pissed at myself for not being where I wanted to be. In my 36th year, it was a lot of things revealed themselves or itself to me and made me hyper aware of areas that I hadn't paid attention to, in which made me feel like I wasn't where I should be. And that's also a dangerous game. That's a very dangerous game to play sometimes. It wasn't that I was so unhappy that I felt defeated. It just was a realization that I needed to be better. I needed to be better in my fitness. I needed to be better in my finances. I needed to be better as a husband. And the things that happened that year and the moment that I recorded that episode, I remember the exact feeling. But the cool part about it is this year, and this episode is the first episode that I've done since my birthday. And that's not what this whole episode is going to be. But I just want to talk about it because for all of you achievers, you high performers, you people on a quest to be better, you all know how this feels. You all know that when you turn a certain age, some people are excited, some people aren't excited. But if you're like me, the only thing you really care about is, am I better off this year than I was last year? Am I better this year? Am I better in my fitness? And guys, I want to take this all the way until I'm 80. Like your birthday is a day that you remember and you can keep score from the previous years if you want to. But this is the first episode that I've recorded since my birthday. And I can't believe, if I look back at how fast the year happened and all the things that happened, I can't tell you how much more excited I am this year than I was last year. I can't tell you the difference in feeling between this year and last year. And the cool part about it is 12 months is like the snap of a finger. Literally, it's like I remember almost the exact episode that I did a year ago. I remember the exact feeling. And I use that feeling to drive me when I'm tired, to drive me when I didn't feel like doing something, but I did not ever want to feel that feeling again on my birthday. So super, super interesting, especially for people like me who want to make progress, because the one thing that makes you most unhappy, if you are like me, is the feeling of being stuck, the feeling of not progress. So I urge you to get started on whatever project that you want to start, get started on building the life that you want to create, because months happen fast. And these birthdays, seemingly now, especially with a daughter, happen super, super, super fast. So we get one shot at this, guys, and progression is key. So I want to dive into today's episode. That was just a little intro about something pretty much unrelated to the actual topic of today's show, which is going to be about the things you must do that's going to make an incredible difference in your productivity, in your clarity, in your creative ability, that you always put on the back burner because you think you don't have time. So what are the things, what are the high performance habits that high performers have that can skyrocket productivity, that can skyrocket creativity, that can skyrocket your results, that are almost counterintuitive to the things you think you have to do each and every day? Now, this is going to be an episode about some of the things that have made the most impact on my ability to create, my ability to produce, and my ability to be my best in most situations. A lot of people talk about morning routines. A lot of people talk about getting up at 4 a.m. A lot of people talk about the hustle and the grind. And I don't care if you do these things in the morning. I think it's really, really important for each and every one of you to have some sort of routine that's almost like a reset. That's almost like a start button for your day. But sometimes routines can be very, very rigid. And if you're listening to me or you're listening to other gurus and you want to just adopt a whole morning routine, you have to be very careful and understand how your life is different than their life. For example, a lot of the gurus I listen to are older, and if they have kids, they're a lot older. They're not in the newborn stage. Some of these gurus don't even have kids. And so when they talk about getting up at 4 a.m. and doing a laundry list of things before 6 a.m., it all sounds good in theory, but as you people who have young kids know, sometimes that shit gets thrown out the window real fast. If your baby wakes up in the middle of the night or whatever, right? My baby's 2 years old and now she sleeps almost through the night 99% of the time, but there's always, a possibility that won't happen, or she wakes up earlier than you expected and everything gets kind of pushed back, if you will. And that's okay. The whole purpose of this episode is to tell you, you don't need something so rigid, but you should have a plan. You should plan out your day as a day that the thing that I like to do is, what does my perfect day look like? If everything went to plan, if my baby slept through the night, if she slept until 7:30 in the morning, what time does my perfect day start? What do I accomplish? What is that routine? And how does that get started button feel that is going to enhance the probability that I can create my best work and do my best at whatever it is I'm doing every single day on demand? Because when you're in a routine, no different than an athlete who has a routine before he gets into the batter's box, or he has a routine before he swings the golf club, what it's doing is clearing space and getting you out of your own way so that you can create the result that you actually want to create. If you watch Tiger Woods, every single pre-shot is the same. Any great golfer knows that. That's why the free throw The people who are best at free throws, they don't dribble the ball once sometimes, 3 times the other time, 5 times one time. It's the exact same. My favorite players, John Stockton, Karl Malone, growing up, I would emulate their free throw routine. I knew exactly what they were going to do. I knew exactly how many bounces they were going to bounce the ball. I knew how Karl Malone did the little spin thing and then shot the free throw. But it's no different for your life. Why is it different for professional athletes? Why is it different for champions than it is for you? Each day is a performance. Each day is a game. And for those of you listening to my podcast, you already understand that you want to fucking win. That the whole point of this is to win or to be winning. Maybe you just hate losing so bad you want to win. Or maybe you love winning so much you just want to win. But you wouldn't be listening to this show if you didn't give a fuck about winning or losing. You understand that it's your duty to win in your fitness, to win in your life, to win in your finance. That's what it's all about. That's what athletic as fuck is all about. It's about winning. So how do you create that winning culture in yourself? It comes down to routine and it comes down to awareness. But what it really comes down to is creating a plan that you can follow 90 to 95 to 98% of the time, that you get that shit in. Because if you don't, you're always going to be reacting and you're never going to respond. So what does that look like? Because a lot of people think that it's all about hard work, that it's all about hustle and grind, and you got to work until you die. That you got to get up at 4 a.m. and you got to get right on the computer and you got to slam fucking workout and you got to stay up until 3 a.m. and you got to be obsessed. Because some of the people you're listening to, that's what they fucking do. But some of the people, you have to understand who you're listening to. Are they living a fulfilled life, or are they constantly chasing and chasing and chasing and are unfulfilled? Or maybe if you do that, they're fulfilled, but you'd be unfulfilled. You have to know what's important to you. Because the messaging gets lost depending on who you're listening to. There's a place and time if you're launching a product, if you're starting a business, if you're just getting started. If you look in the mirror and you see a person that is so overweight, that is living way under his or her potential, and you're sick and fucking tired of it, there is a time where you have to go fucking hard. And maybe it is something where you have to get up at 4 a.m. and you got to grind your ass off for a couple of years. And that might get you so far, but you have to understand where that point is, where that fine line is, where you have to shift, and where hustle and grind and work until you die is not the message for you anymore. Because some people that do that, they miss out on their most creative moments. They're so busy doing the fucking thing that sometimes they miss the opportunities that are right in front of them. So I understand that for some of you, it's going to be different. You got to understand where you're at in this moment. Every little thing that you have to get off the ground is like a plane on a runway. Sometimes in the beginning, you got to go fucking hard. It's all aboard, it's all or nothing, it's grind, it's hustle, it's not getting very much sleep, it's all of those things. There's a place and time for it in short bursts. But if you want to evolve, if you want to upgrade, if you want to get to the next level, you got to start doing stuff smarter. Your routine has to get smarter, more intelligent. So what are some of the things that I think that are intangibles, that are absolutely necessary for you to win like we talked about? For me, it's a couple things. For me, number one, it's knowing how to alter my state to get into a state of performance. And what I mean by that is the flow state. You might be thinking, well, what does that sound like? That's when an athlete is in the zone or an entrepreneur is in flow. You can call it flow. You can call it trance. It's an altered state of being. And that's what we need to, that's what this whole point of this show is about, is how do we get into trance? How do we get into flow? How do we get in the zone so that our best work can come out? Because you're not going to get into flow. You're not going to get into trance. You're not going to get into the zone if you're overworked and overtired and you're just reacting. So for me, some of the things that I do is almost counterintuitive, like I said at the beginning of the show, because it seemingly takes up so much time that I should be doing something else that'll move the needle. Because this stuff isn't necessarily going to have an immediate ROI on the stuff that I actually need to get done. Here's my list, guys. Here's my list. Number one, it's imperative to meditate. I go 20 minutes. I should do it even more, but 20 minutes a day, that unlocks creativity. That gives me space. But more important than that, it sits my ass down when my whole being wants to get in front of the computer and do something. When I have 100 things on my to-do list and I must do them and I have meetings and I have all this shit, I need to sit down for 20 minutes, whether it be in the morning or evening. I like to do it in the morning, but I need to sit down for 20 minutes and just shut it down. And even if I'm sitting there and I have that impulse to get up, I take control back. I take control back because this takes me out of this reaction and into response. Imperative. You notice how that's counterintuitive to the hustle and grind and work until you fall over and die. 20 minutes. 20 minutes seems like an eternity at first. But when you make this a part of you, it's essential. It opens up your mind and your brain to different ideas, to different opportunities, to different frequencies. It's imperative. Number two, you can't talk about getting into an altered state on demand if you don't talk about physiology, the food you eat, your hydration, exercise. High performers, whether they want to look a certain way or just create better work, absolutely need to control their physiology through the food they eat, through being hydrated, and getting that exercise in. I like to crush weights. I like resistance training. That's a lot about my fitness philosophy. But even if some of you are just like, you know what, I want to go for a run because I like it, cool. Because you've all heard about that runner's high. And if you've experienced it, you know that's exactly what I'm talking about when I talk about flow, when I talk about trance. You feel that. That's the addicting part of that. That's when some of your best ideas hit you. Another thing that I like to do is go for a walk. Guys, a lot of people, and myself included, used to think that counting steps was ridiculous, especially for fitness. It's like, dude, what's steps going to do? But it serves a deeper purpose, even in fitness and weight loss, which isn't the point. My point is getting out there and going for a walk, 20 to 30 minutes each and every day. Put on your favorite podcast, go for a walk. Because again, you're creating space for yourself. So notice how meditating for 20 minutes, going for a 20 to 30 minute walk, that's almost an hour of your day. That's almost an hour of your day. Then you got to throw exercise on there. That's another hour. That's 2 hours out of your working day. Another thing that I like to do is read. Guys, 10 minutes a day, read something that's going to feed the growth of your mind. Whether it's a autobiography, whether it's something inspirational, but feed yourself, even if it's fiction and it has a positive pull. 10 minutes a day, you got to read. Notice all of these things are sitting you down. It's centering you. Because the thing that you have to understand is that if you're constantly reacting to all the shit that's being thrown at you, as a parent, all the stress at work, all the shit that's on the news, every single thing is getting thrown at you, and all you're going to do is react. And you might get some shit checked off of your to-do list, but you're never going to create that masterpiece. And that's the difference between people who stay stuck at a certain level and the people who ascend higher and higher. They give themselves space. And the last thing I'm going to mention before I wrap this episode up, guys, is the ability to focus on what you want. And I've said it over and over, and I can't think of something more important than this. So many of you focus on what you don't want. So many of you focus on what you're hearing on the news. So many of you are getting lost in what you don't want to happen, in your fears, in your insecurity. The first step of this focus is actually understanding what it is you do want. Truly, what do you want? I have a running list of 100 things that are material and 100 things that are experiences. 2 different lists, that's 200 things. And every single day I spend at least 5 to 10 minutes adding to that list. Here's the rule. The material things have to be for you. They can't be for your wife. They can't be for your parents. They can't be for your family. They can't be for your kids. It has to be for you. If you had a genie and you rubbed a lamp and you could have whatever you want, whatever it is you want, whatever it is you desire, no matter the cost, how far can you stretch your mind? How far can you stretch your mind? Because if you don't desire and you don't even know what you want, your unconscious isn't going to take you there. This is something that I recommend every single one of you do. As far as the experiences, that's going to be the places you see, the food you taste, all the experiences, the not material stuff that you want to experience in this lifetime, 100 of them. And you have to have a goal. You have to have a goal. On top of all of that, you have to have a very specific goal that you're shooting for. That's where the magic lies. Because if all those last exercises are exercises of focus, what it's doing is helping me focus on the things that I want. Because when you focus on what you want, magic happens. You create this energy of attraction. When you focus on what you don't want, what you're hearing from the news, the negative bullshit, you're also creating this attraction. So either way, you're being attracted to what you don't want or what you want. 99% of you are consistently focused on what you don't want, and then you're surprised when you get exactly what you don't want. The secret to true high performers and true high achievers, if there is a secret, is that they know how to control their focus. What I want you guys to do is take inventory of how you start your day, how you finish your day, what you do throughout your day. Because if you want to win, like we talked about earlier, if you want to win so fucking bad, you have to start to be aware of what you do every single day. Because those days turn into weeks, those weeks turn into months, those months turn into years, and those years turn into decades. If you can win each and every day, or if you can win 90% of the day, watch what happens in a year, watch what happens in a decade, and watch what's possible for the rest of your life.
Thank you so much for joining us for another amazing episode of The Show with John Madsen. The greatest compliment that you could give us is liking, loving, and sharing this episode with all of your friends. So please go to iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating and review, and then share it online with everyone that you know. Make sure to tag John as well. He loves to hear from listeners of the show. The links for all of his socials and iTunes are in the show notes. Also, if you'd like to engage John for anything related to his coaching, consulting, or programs, please visit johnmadsen.com for everything you'd need to know on how to engage with John offline. And lastly, thank you for your time, your attention, and your consideration. This is The Show.